Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today I'm very excited to be joined by Kimberly Sweeney, divorce and relationship coach and founder of Degrees of Separation, a coaching practice dedicated to helping individuals navigate separation and relationship challenges with clarity and dignity. Based in New Zealand, Kimberly is widely recognised as the country's first CDC certified divorce coach and has spent the last decade helping people manage their emotions, financial and family changes that come with relationship breakdowns. Through her coaching programs, she supports individuals in making thoughtful decisions about their relationship, preparing for separation if necessary, and building healthier co-parenting relationships for the future. Kimberly, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
It is exciting and it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm very much excited to jump in and learn a little bit more about your journey as well. Kimberly, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Degrees of Separation, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
So I, for 20 something years, probably close to 30 years, have been a beauty therapist and worked all around the world in that role and worked one-on-one with clients for all those years and had my own business over that time as well. And then 15 years ago, I went through my own divorce and separation with a very young child and came out the other end of it thinking, gosh, there's got to be an easier way, like especially when you've got to figure out how to co-parent and still have a relationship with your ex. And it was challenging, I'm not going to lie. And in New Zealand at that point, there was only the support of counsellors or lawyers. And you don't really want to spend all your money with lawyers when you've got a lot of emotions to deal with. And so I started coming out the other end of it thinking there's got to be a better way. And how can I help people through this transitional phase of life, going out on your own into the world, often as a single parent if you've had kids. So I did some research and considered counselling myself because I found that counsellors were more focused on the past and the trauma and the grief, and they weren't really there to help you move forward with the practicalities of separation and what that looked like and how to communicate with your now ex-partner and how to tell the children and what to talk to lawyers about and what not to talk to lawyers about. And so I thought there needs to be something more specific to that line of work. And then I, in my research, discovered that there was such a thing as a divorce coach, but not in New Zealand. So I trained via the States in 2015 and brought divorce coaching to New Zealand. So I was originally the first divorce coach in New Zealand, certified, and it's growing. Since then, there's more of us, which is great. And in the last couple of years, I've co-founded a divorce coaching institute, ADSI, which just hosts a lot of certified divorce coaches under that umbrella to make sure that we're all operating professionally and ethically. And there's a bit of a governing body now here in New Zealand to make sure that we are all working with those strict ethical guidelines. So there's a few of us that co-founded the institute, and now we're working very collaboratively with lawyers and counsellors, because sometimes people still do need that counselling aspect of things. But ultimately, the coaching is there to just guide people and support them from hopefully the beginning right through the whole process to the end.
Beautiful stuff. And thank you so much for sharing that journey. And as you said, making the way for divorce coaching in New Zealand. I feel like Australia, I feel like America was definitely at the forefront of that. Even in the UK, it's a very new sector. It's a very new thing that's coming up. And I think, in my opinion, one that's wildly needed. I haven't gone through a divorce myself, but I've seen my parents go through one and I know the impacts it has on the whole family. And as you mentioned yourself, it's not just about even the emotional draining of it. It's like the financial situation, the parenting situation, works can be destroyed, homes are affected by it. So there's so much support that's needed. And 100% the idea for me why coaching is more appealing is because you are looking towards the future. You're very much allowing yourself in the right a little bit, but springboarding yourself forward with that support. And then obviously the knowledge and the clarity when it does come to lawyers and all that good stuff, all that jargon that comes with having a divorce is not easy to navigate if you've never done that before.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Most people who get married assume they're getting married forever. They never
Right?
think that they need to plan for the inevitable, which can happen. 50% of marriages and relationships do fail. And how do we get through this? How do we navigate this as
Mm.
successfully as possible so that we can move on with our lives and thrive, be stuck in our story and stuck in
Yeah.
that grief and stuck in that overwhelm? So coaching helps you, as you say, springboard into the future, hopefully a little bit wiser and a little bit happier as time goes
Exactly
by.
that. Yeah, exactly. And I think even just without the overwhelm that comes with all that, as I said, like the lawyer stuff, the financial situation as well that comes with a divorce, that must very much help with the personal aspect of getting through the grief that you're obviously partaking when you are separating with somebody, because it's a big emotional shift as well as a situational shift. Um,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
obviously,
absolutely.
yeah, and then obviously you are setting up, making sure that in New Zealand you have governing bodies now to ensure that coaching is done through properly and they're actually getting the support they need, which must be a really cool aspect and very fulfilling on your part as well, just setting that way for the rest of the standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's definitely a labor of love setting up the institute, but I felt it was really important as the industry started growing in New Zealand just to make sure that the public felt assured and certain that they were choosing a coach that was correctly certified and looking after them ethically as well. Yeah.
Beautiful, and it's a great aspect to have. So let's dive into degrees of separation a little bit more, just so that the listeners can have some context moving forward. So, Kimberly, at this point in, who would you say is your ideal client? Who do you very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them, and how do you support them along their own journey?
I love a client that might be still in the relationship and they are figuring out whether they should stay or leave. And because of my training with Gottman therapy over the years, I realized that there was many people that maybe hadn't put the work in to try and make it work before they called it quits. So I became quite passionate, especially with children involved, of what have you done to stay and make it work? And no relationship is perfect. And there's always going to be ups and downs. Can you push through and work through this with your partner? Can you communicate what you both need to try and turn this around and make it work? So that's my favorite kind of client because then at least they can either try and turn it around. And if they can't, then they've said hand on heart to themselves and their children, look, we really tried to make this work. And we've got to a point where it's healthier for us to move apart. So that's my ideal client is helping them navigate those early phases of wondering whether they stay or leave. And then, of course, if they decide to leave, then before they've engaged in lawyers, they've worked with a coach to understand the process, understand what they want from their lawyer so that they maximize their time with their lawyer and they're not wasting too much money on that emotional toll that it takes. The coaching is there to support you emotionally, teach you how to regulate your emotions, to get that clarity of thought, to then go to your lawyer with really concise thoughts and plans on what you want from your settlement agreement so that you're maximizing, as I say, time and money with lawyers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great aspect to bring to it. And as you mentioned at the start, no one ever plans for divorce. So it's nice that you are getting in there at that early stage when it's, as you say, contemplation, maybe something that's weighing on their mind. And they can even have an outlet and see if that is the right path for them to take. And then if not, at least they have all the information they need to do it justice. And as you say, like they've thrown the kitchen sink at it. So they've tried everything to get that across the line and just hopefully from there you can really help one out. Now, what is your style of coaching or even your approach to the situation? Because this can be obviously quite touching and very emotional for people. So, what is it like to work with you, Kimberly?
Yeah, look, most of my coaching is on Zoom, sometimes in person, but I work with clients. I can work with clients all around the world, but I work with clients all around New Zealand. And I think it's just giving them, holding space for them, allowing them to talk through where they're at, sharing kind of what their needs are and how they're feeling about things. But then instead of letting them dwell on those aspects of things, pushing them to that future focus. What do you need to move through this, and how can I support you? So, yeah, that holding space, but not letting them get too stuck in their story or too stuck in the grief process, lifting them up so that they can start to have that confidence to know that they are in control and that they can make some choices and some good decisions and good communication about what they need moving forward. So, giving them the tool to empower them. I think a lot of people feel that they are disempowered if it hasn't been their choice to end the relationship and they may not have been in charge of the finances or running of the household and so they don't really know where to start. So just working at their level and their pace of where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, as you say, just getting to where they're at and then taking them from there. And it must be very difficult. Obviously, there are obviously two sides to a relationship, and there always is a decision that one might not be happy with. So, yeah, as you say, if they are going through that and it's not even their choice to get divorced, that's a completely different kind of kettle of fish to somebody that has maybe taken those steps for the divorce themselves. So, they are those two angles that you have to work with and really get to their level. And as you say,
That's
allowing
right.
them to feel a little bit, and then we can move on and build that plan once they've
Yeah.
gotten over that emotional hurdle. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
with such a sensitive subject, I'm very curious to find out how you go about acquiring your customers and obviously getting your name heard. So, like in terms of marketing, what is working well for you at the moment, Kimberly? What channels and methods are you really finding success in just finding those right people to work with?
I find that a lot of media brings in some inquiries, and often the inquiries turn into clients. So over the years, I think because I've been fortunate enough to be the first divorce coach, I have been the go-to for the media to ask questions or write articles. So that's always been quite helpful. And referrals, like word of mouth, past clients that have worked with me that recommend me to their friends and family, that's probably the second biggest part of it. And I've now worked alongside and very closely with many collaborative family lawyers and relationship property lawyers that can recognize their clients need some support outside of that legal process, and they recognize the good work I do with helping clients understand the process and regulate their emotions so that the lawyer doesn't have to deal with it. So different professionals that clients have gone to through their process, often they refer them to me to get that outside support. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So very, as you say, very much leaning into the position you have, being that first divorce lawyer must help out a lot in that aspect. And then from there, I feel like referrals, just so kudos to the work you are doing. It's just how do we build them to they're like consistent on the way through. And then obviously lawyers are a great aspect to that. They must take up a lot of that counselling aspect as well from it. So they must be nice to have you alongside them, helping them throughout the journey. So it allows their process to move a lot smoother as well. Because like lawyers can take like what up to 4 to 5 years sometimes within a divorce settlement. Like it's not a quick process for people to be going through either.
Yeah, that's right. The bigger and the messier the settlement, the longer it can take, and it takes its toll on not only the clients, but the lawyers as well, the
Yeah,
professionals that are supporting them. And lawyers, they aren't counselors. They do lend a listening ear, but I think you're better to get that outside support,
yeah,
and that does generally speed up that process, because sometimes that 4 or 5 years, if it has been going on for that long, is not just because of the lawyers, it's because of the parties being entrenched in their position and not willing to give up or negotiate. So working with a coach helps you reality check all of those things and
yeah.
check in and be like, is this worth it? And at what point do you just want to get on with your life and move on?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Sometimes it takes that outside look to just realize bygones should be bygones and we do the best in this situation and move on from there. There's no point spitting an argument between amongst yourself. So it is nice to bring that clarity again to the situation. Now, do you utilize
Absolutely.
social media in any way just to get your voice out there, maybe amplify your ecosystem a little bit and just resonate with some more people?
Yeah, I do. I do. So I do not a lot, but when I've got the time, I'll do little kind of Friday fact, little tips and ideas for clients on different platforms. So I use LinkedIn probably mostly from that professional aspect, and then Facebook and Instagram as well. And I find Facebook quite useful for sharing articles and sharing links so that people can do a bit of self-education and self-help. People often these days want to embrace their journey themselves and see what is out there in those platforms to help them. So anything I
Yeah.
can reshare and post is always useful.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely if you are trying to stay like top of mind and obviously resonate with those people, just being authentic, putting out the information you can to really help them, and then hopefully if that tension arises, they know who to turn to when the situation is there, or even spark some ideas in their head and get them thinking if that's even the right step for them to take before they even need to talk to you.
Yeah,
It's a great tool in that aspect. And
yeah.
like, I suppose, Kimberly, what are your visions or the like ambitions you have for the company? Like maybe when you think of the next 6 to 12 months, like what are the goals or the targets that you're working hard towards achieving at the moment?
Yeah, I the last 12 months have been really having the institute set up to work as a collective with coaches. And I think that the more of us that work together, the more it's spreading the word of what a divorce coach is, that there is actually such a thing. New Zealand is not a big country, but they also are very self-help DIY in New Zealand. So unlike America, where people have
Yeah.
a coach and a counselor and all the different people that they bring in automatically, it's a last resort rather than first port of call in New Zealand. So I think just building more and more awareness that we are out there, we can help, and letting the New Zealand public know what we do and who we are and how they can engage in that process. Yeah.
Yeah, you folks in New Zealand, you are very much like us in the UK. It's very much shut the door and the emotions are behind you kind of thing. As you say, it's like just getting your name out there and know that there is support there must be a great aspect to have moving forward. And where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself in achieving that, or even within the business at the moment?
I think at the moment, the biggest challenge is the economy. I think worldwide at the moment, everyone's finding that a bit of a challenge. So especially going through a separation or divorce, there's many people that don't have the funds to get the
Yeah.
help and support they need. And at the moment, I think it's more prevalent with what's going on in the world. There's always peaks and troughs with any business. And I think you just take this opportunity to refocus on other aspects of the business until things rebuild again. But in all the same, it does also help when there's some funding available. And we've got companies now in New Zealand that will help people fund their divorce, and they can repay their lawyer fees or their divorce coaching fees upon settlement. So there's more and more things that are coming into place that are helping to assist everyone with those financial means. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be a big aid and a big aspect because yeah, naturally, like it does cost a lot to go through divorce. Not only are you paying for the like lawyers and everything else on top of that, but even if you need to buy new houses, if you need to move, like anything on top of it,
Yeah.
looking after your kids, only a two income house turns into one. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to take on board and a lot to consider. Yeah, and I do have one final question, Kimberly, to ask you before we log out. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that check your emotions and learn very early on how to regulate your emotions and how to step out of anything that gets heightened or is heading towards conflict, because it's never going to serve you well and you will have regrets. And I've definitely learned from my own mistakes, and I hope that I can help others do better. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, and I couldn't agree more. And Kimberly, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to?
Yeah, probably just going to my website, degreesofseparation.co.nz, and you can log an inquiry and I can set up a time to chat with you. I always have a kind of complimentary phone call initially with clients to just see if we're the right fit and if I'm the best
Amazing.
person to help you. So, yeah, happy to chat.
Beautiful stuff. And thank you again for joining me, Kimberly. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Kimberly Sweeney. As she just said, check out the website, degreesofseparation.co.nz. Drop her a message. I'm sure she would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.